What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Trending in the AM. There we go. First one already. Trending in the AM. I'm Big Al filling in for Phil today. He's apparently feeding Jeff Bezos and the rest of Amazon some of that great Fox's pizza. So I'll be filling in for you guys today. We got a lot to cover today. Phillies. We're going to talk Phillies. We're going to talk the Eagles. We're going to talk the Sixers. And the theme of today is going to be get your finger off the panic button and just let's talk this way through. We're going to talk about non-sports topics. Going to be what is the non-essential thing in your life that you couldn't live without. So get that on your ready. We're going to have that. Read the comments today. We're going to have a great time this morning, and we're going to get right to it right now. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Trending in the AM. I am Big Al, as I said just a moment ago. I am not Phil, one of my better qualities, some people say. I will be filling in for Phil today, talking Philly sports, with the trending topics going on in Philly sports today. Like I said, we're going to talk Phillies, we're going to talk Sixers, we're going to talk Eagles, but we're going to talk about confidence. We're going to talk about the confidence level that the fans have. We're going to talk about the confidence level that everybody has in players, coordinators, as well as confidence in a team that is currently playing very well. That sometimes, if you were a person on the outside looking in, you wouldn't know any better. You're fighting Phils. Phillies lost yesterday afternoon, won the series, but lost yesterday afternoon. The only offense they got was 2 home runs by Bryce Harper. But the rest of the offense has been kind of cold. And that's kind of been the topic since their, I would say, their long road trip. There's times that the offense was on fire, but then there's plenty of times that the offense was cold. Pitching's been there most of the time up until the JT Realmuto injury. That plays a little bit of a factor into it. And we're also going to talk a little side topic about excuses versus variables. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing about that, but we'll keep it very generic on that situation. But a couple things that we can look forward to is, of course, Brandon Marsh is back. Trey just came back on Monday. Kyle Schwarber is looking like Kyle Schwarber of June that we've seen in the past, which is what we really needed. And even Nick Castellanos has been hitting for the most part in a short sample size. I'm not ready to go pro Castellanos just yet, but it's good to see if he starts hitting now. I said it earlier, MLB better be on the lookout. With the Eagles topics, like I said, we're going to talk player position, your confidence level that you have for player or position. Is it high? Is it low? And then really, I want to talk about our coordinators in the sense of I know how some people feel. We've talked about this ad nauseum, but I want to know what you want to see or what you need from these coordinators, or what do you think is the best course of action for these coordinators. I'll get into my points, and I'll let hear from you guys when we get to the comments. And again, the non-sports topic this morning is going to be, what is that non-essential thing that you cannot live without in your life? And what I mean by that, for explanation, you can't live without air, can't live without food, and that kind of stuff. So that's essentials. What's that non-essential thing? Was a favorite meal your mom used to make you? Is it your favorite movie you got to watch every so often? Your favorite beer? You're a person in your life that is just there for you all the time. Whatever it is, or your favorite TV show growing up, whatever it is. What is that non-essential thing that you can't live without? And I want to remind you guys that this show is brought to you by Sherry'sTickets.com, PhillySportsTrips.com, CherryInjuryLaw.com, and of course Dolan's Bar, the Most Elko Bar. So let's hit some of these comments, and then we'll get down into some of the what's going on in Philly sports today. Shake what your mama gave you. Thanks, Eric. Good morning, Elephant in the Room. Good to see you again. Good morning, my friend. I see you too, TMZ. I'm waiting for you, TMZ. I'm waiting for you to be the most harsh critic today, because we all know you love your Phil. But I hope I can fill in good enough. If I can make TMZ happy, I can make anybody happy. That's how I look at it. Big Al and Heezy, what's going on, Steve? Good morning to you as well. I've been saying this for a month or more. This offense has not got not as a whole. Okay, yeah, we'll talk. It's not hit as a whole. And that's one of the big things. Little G is still going to be an uncle, so that hasn't changed. Good to hear. Cherry Bomb's already coming in, and music. I couldn't live without music. All right, that's one of your first ones. That's a good one. I actually kind of polled a couple of the guys here at EOP as well, so I'll give you a couple of those topics, a couple of those answers a little later. Some really good ones, some off the wall ones, and honestly, our boy Joey Sharon had one of the more interesting out of the box ones, so we'll talk about that as well. But I want to talk about the Phillies, and I want to talk about panicking. Let's chat about that for a minute. It's one of my irks. I've been covering sports now for 7 years, doing analytical sports for 7 years. I have been covering Phillies, doing the post game show since 2022 with Matty B, and I've also been covering Philly sports for the press box since last year. So I feel like I have a fairly good pulse on the Phillies by now. I mean, I was in 2022, the one saying don't give up on the season yet. Right before we all kind of knew the Joe Girardi situation was going to come down, and then I said just don't give up on this team yet. The team's too talented, and this team is too talented. Sometimes things will level off, but the point is keeping things as a high rate as it is, because I mean, in reality of it, this team could go 500 for the rest of the season and they'll win the division. They'll probably be best team in the NL, close if they go 500 for the rest of the year, between them and maybe the Dodgers, unless the Braves have some resurgence. Because and I know Phil gives his WWIP jokes and his fanny pack jokes, and I try not to worry about what the other guys do, but you got to pay attention because listen, they go for the scare tactics. I get it. That's what they do. They get people they get people charged, and then that's how they stoke the conversation. So whatever. That's what they have to do. That's what they have to do. But one thing I did see, and I think this morning was one of their morning polls, the Phillies are 7 games or 7 games ahead of the Braves in first place right now. I know at one point they were 9, and people are talking about panicking. Like, are you ready to panic yet? And I don't understand that. I go back to the last couple of years where they've had some really good success, not complete success, but some really good success. The World Series trip and just falling short in the NLCS last year. And we were never 7 games in first place at all in one of those times. I'm not saying everything's always going to act and be the same and come out the same and all that stuff, but are we really going to panic about being 7 games in first place on June 20th right now, June 20th, 2024 to be exact? I mean, is that where we're going to go with this? Like, we have to start worrying about panicking. I know there's not a lot of Eagles conversation to talk about. Nothing new is going to be coming out. There'll be no new interviews and comments and things along those lines. The Sixers, we're going to talk about the trade deadline, what we learned about from the finals, and how the playoffs played out for the NBA and what that means for the Sixers and confidence level, but not in the areas that you think of. But there should be zero panic at this point. I mean, let's talk about this stretch. Yes, and they since they went to Colorado and they lost the series there. Only won the one game there. Then they went to San Fran, struggled there, which is nothing new. Certain people have certain issues. It was certain players, certain teams, certain locations. The Phillies, it's in San Fran. And if you go back and you look at the stats, it's not like the last couple of years. It's not the last 5 years. It's like the last 15 years. So that's many managers, many different players, pre-Bryce Harper, post-Bryce Harper. So they tend to struggle there. Is that an excuse? No. Would you love to see them buck the trend? Absolutely. But the Phillies have bucked the trend a lot, except for maybe that one area right now is where they didn't buck the trend. But they struggled there. They went to London, went through all the fanfare with that, split that series, um, you know, and then they came back, and then they had to go from London to Boston. They lost that series, won one game there. Came out kind of swinging, looked pretty good. Was giving you some hope for the series, but unfortunately, it's complementary baseball is the term we use to say when you're not getting back-to-back hits or getting extra base hits when the guys are on base, you're not capitalizing. I mean, the bases were loaded yesterday, first inning, they weren't able to capitalize on it, and those are the kind of things that'll burn you. And it's going to burn you against good teams. I mean, the Padres may not have looked like a good team the first couple games. I mean, they're always up and down between that 500 marker, but I mean, they are still a good team. They have some good players on there. I just think they're a poorly ran organization. That's kind of one of their problems. And then, like I said, then they lose the Baltimore Orioles, who are a good team in Baltimore. Came back here and we saw a little home cooking, made a little bit of a difference for this team. So they won the series, and that's it. I think part of the problem we've had is we've gotten spoiled from the start of this season. How well they play. Nobody expected this. I didn't expect this. Nobody expected this. How well they've been playing. On top of that, not that we hope for injuries, but the Braves dealing with injuries and kind of not being able to kind of bounce back from it that great. We've been dealing with injuries, just getting a couple guys back, but missing JT Realmuto in my eyes is one of the hardest ones. And thank God everything seems to be trending in the right direction for him to have that 30-day return. I still think it's going to be the 5 to 6 weeks return. But we'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to hit some of these comments, but real quick before we do, I want to remind you guys that this show is brought to you by Sherry'sTickets.com. That's right, Sherry'sTickets.com. Great prices, no hidden fees. That's sports, concerts, theater, you name it, they got it. And you don't have to be in the Philadelphia area. I want to remind you guys, you do not have to be in the Philadelphia area. It could be tickets. You could be wherever you're at in the continental United States. You want tickets for an event, go to Sherry'sTickets.com. Forget the rest. Use the best, Sherry'sTickets.com. Great prices, no hidden fees. And what I mean by that is when you go on the screen and you say it's a $50 ticket, you're not going to get at the end, you're going to get a $27 or $40 service fee. And it's almost $100 for that. No, you're going to see the price you see on the screen is the price you're going to pay, and you're going to save an additional 10% off by using that great promo code EOP10. That's right, EOP10 will save you 10% off at Sherry'sTickets.com. So no hidden fees, already great prices, and an additional 10% off with that EOP10 promo code at Sherry'sTickets.com. So, guys, let's hit some of these comments up here. Let's see. So last one we said elephant in the room. We were talking about my topic, my non-sports topic today will be non-essential things you cannot live without in your life. Elephant in the room says music, which is a great one. Signed Deion Kane. Little G, he's saying Eagles are 14-3. Probably a little high, but hey, keep dreaming. Couldn't live without EOP, Mitch. That's why you're good company, man. Little G's been waiting to be an uncle for a year now. Modern medical miracle. Yeah, Mike. Unless, he has a lot of sisters or brothers who are having kids, and they just keep having one, keeps getting pregnant after the other. So he might just it might be really busy around Christmas time for him, Mike. Couldn't live without ice cream. What would life be without ice cream? Steve, that is a very good one. And as a guy, I'm a diabetic, and I'm also lactose intolerant. So I got to take those little enzyme pills if I ever want to eat ice cream. And when I was told that I might not be able to live without I might not be able to have ice cream that much, that burnt me. Well, thank God I got my stuff together so I can actually eat more ice cream now. But yeah, Absolutely. And like, what flavor ice cream? What is your go-to ice cream too? Like that, I really want to get down to the nitty-gritty. Like ice cream's great. It's a great overall broad. What is that flavor? What is that brand? Where is that place you like to go to get it? Like that's really what I want to know. What is that one thing that might seem silly to another person or might not even be known about to another person that they just couldn't live without? Couldn't live without water. Well, again, that's an essential, Mike. That's an essential. So I want something, I want something that's going to be you can't live without, but you could sustain life without. Better show up in October. I mean, that's that TMZ. That is like the the core factor here. That's why I say hitting the panic button on June 20th is ridiculous, and um using your platform like some people will do to stir up panic and put big headlines out there that's going to scare people. um it's a little ridiculous, and that's not what we do here. But yeah, showing them in October is the key thing. I mean, and that's been kind of the mantra. I mean, do we not remember the Braves being well ahead of us, like 7, 8, 9 games ahead of us? The Mets were in 2022 up until September, until they collapsed. They were well ahead of us. We were nowhere near um, winning this division at those times. Maybe a little bit closer last year, but definitely the year before we weren't. And where did it go to show you? The Mets got bounced by the Padres in the first round because they fell apart and let the Braves take the lead. Braves got the lead, got the time off, came in, couldn't play against us. So it's all about when you timely hitting, and that's complimentary baseball. So right now they're going to struggle. They are still above 500 in this stretch, barely, but still above 500. Which in a stretch like that, with the amount of miles logged and the amount of time logged and all that stuff, in my eyes, it's that's a good thing. I would have preferred to see better. I know perfection is always what we aim for, but in baseball, there's no such thing. I'm sorry, there's no such thing as perfection in baseball, especially. There's no such thing as perfection in anything, but especially baseball. I always say it's the game of 30%. When a batter hits 30% or more for the year, that's a good year. They're a good player. They're going to get made a lot of money. Like that's what's going to be. And then if you do it consistently, but yes, October is where it happens, and through October, not just October the first week or two. It's got to be through October into early November as well. The core 12 doesn't panic. Well, that's good to hear, Eric. That's good to hear. But it's like people are out there asking the question. I was doing a show last night with Joe on our normal EOP live at 8:30 p.m. and you know people are asking me, is it time to panic? I don't ever like to panic in any situation. I'm more of like I want to be like that foxhole guy. I want to be that guy that you can trust and not worry about um in the foxhole. Like I want to know. I'll panic when I feel time's ready to panic. And to me, this we are far away from also panicking. I mean, far, far away from it. You're filling in for Phil. Yes, it's just a little too easy, right? Filling in for Phil and talking Phillies. There you go. Good morning, Joe. Thank you for having me. Uh, couldn't live without Tobias Harris. Yes, Joe. Mitch could not live without Tobias Harris because you know what? Everybody needs a villain, right? Every yin needs a yang because what would Mitch's comments be if Tobias Harris was never a Sixer or never existed? What would the situation be if Mitch had to deal with no Tobias Harris? So maybe you're right. Maybe inadvertently, Mitch could not live without Tobias Harris. It's hard to sweep MLB teams, period. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, we swept so many teams. And what were people saying leading up to you know, June, early June? That this team hasn't beat a good team. They haven't beat a team above 500, blah, 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 blah. That is kind of been going on. And yes, like the good teams around 500, they have struggled against a little bit. But so I said, variables had play into it, but they still need to win these games. But again, at the same time, let's play devil's advocate for a moment, Mike. What if, what if they swept the Orioles? What if they swept Boston? Right now, let's play that devil's advocate. There'd be four more wins in the win column for them. They would probably be at least 2 to 3 games higher. So they'd be around, say, 10 games above 500. Okay. 10 games. You went 3 more games up. And Does that mean because you swept the Orioles in the regular season, that if you saw them in the World Series, that it's going to be another sweep? Like, does that translate from one thing to another? No. It's about who's hot then, and health is a big thing at the right time. So sweeps are great, but they don't mean to me anything except helping you keep that win the W high and the L's low. Like, but right now they're still doing very well. So that's what I'm saying. Sweeping any team in Major League Baseball is not easy. TMZ, what condition? Soft serve. That's a good question about the ice cream. Good morning, Al. Good morning, Adam. Always good to hear from you, my friend Mike. Al, also type 2. Buyers make ice cream with almond milk. Oh, I think it means Briars. Now, and they're making an oat milk. My daughter is also lactose intolerant. She loves the Briars one. Lactaid makes a very good ice cream. Lactaid is like they have the milk too, lactose free milk. But Lactaid makes a good ice cream. Briars. I'm more of an oat milk than an almond milk guy, because if you asked me 10 years ago, oat milk and almond milk, I would have laughed at you. My daughter is actually a vegan, so I knew about it, and I used to kind of make fun of her a little bit because I am a carnivore at its finest. Um, but she had her almond milk and oat milk, and when I finally came down to it, like, I like having a bowl of cereal every now. Like, I actually, one of those little things, if I would have added my essential list, would be cereal. And like, I love like kid cereal stuff, like Lucky Charms, Cocoa Puffs. Like, I still love a good cereal. Like, that would be a dessert for me sometimes. If instead of ice cream, especially when I, being lactose intolerant and being a diabetic, I just like, you might probably stay away, just way too much. I mean, not that there's not a lot of sugar in some of these cereals, but it's a lot less, easier to control, and the oat milk makes it less too. But I've tried a lot of the oat ice cream, and most major brands do have it now. Most major brands do have it. So like Ben and Jerry's has the flavors of that. There's even Talante's, which is a really high end Italian ice cream, is really good. I really do enjoy it. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out as well. TMZ, if real ice cream, soft serve, straight up vanilla or chocolate. Oh, now I want a twist. Yeah, like, and TMZ, like, tell me that doesn't make you guys think of like the boardwalk or the shore, like when you get the twist ones. Like, that's what I think of. And you know what? You dip that in that hard chocolate, and you have like that chocolate covering on it. Now I want some. Favorite ice cream, mint chocolate chip. Nothing like being at the beach and waiting for in a line for ice cream shop at night. Yeah, and I'm a mint guy too, because I know like a lot of people with mint ice cream, it's kind of hit or miss. Mint ice cream is a very hit or miss flavor. Either you love it or you hate it. I'm a love it guy. I love mint ice cream. Just and like, there's, because you can get some bad mint ice creams, because some people go heavy handed or use the cheap mint flavoring, and they dye it green. It doesn't have to be green. Mint ice cream is not truly green. It's actually clear, the mint flavoring. They just make it that way to distinguish people, to make people feel more fuzzy inside. I don't know. Hard as ice cream, cookies and cream all day. Yeah, no, cookies and cream, very good one. My 8-year-old, that is his go-to every time we do it. Couldn't live without great podcast shows and content like this network. Well, thank you, Adam. We try our best. And speaking of, since you helped me do a great segue here, here is your lineup for the week. So today, of course, we have Football Stories Live. We also have, I have to update this graphic as well. The Philly Sports Disorder. It's going to have a first live episode. For Football Stories, actually starting a half hour earlier today. So you get a little earlier that. Of Al, myself will be on that. It was from yesterday. Fly Like an Eagle podcast with Mitch. Speaking of Mitch, the attacking third, and we have a ton of things going throughout the week, including the rest of the Fighting's final for the weekend. PM and AM all across all the time. Pats and Fanatics, and the Steel Steps doing some great wrestling for all you wrestling nuts out there. If you're not watching the Steel Steps, they have a great interview coming up. You got to check it out. And also, I know Phil alluded to it earlier, that he's going to have Chet on from Philly Press Box Radio, half of the Chet and Bill team at Philly Press Box Radio. But I will be with them this Sunday, 1:30 at the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne. That's 1033 South Bellevue Avenue. Joe Watson, 2-time Stanley Cup champ. Jim Jackson, Flyers play-by-play. Great guy, by the way. and Lou Nolan, also a great guy. I got to meet both these guys in my time doing this job. Flyers in arena announcer, guys have been there for a very long time, know the history, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Flyers' first Stanley Cup, as well as the 500th episode of Philly Press Box Radio. So, guys, come on out. You can hang out with us. I'll love to have a beer with you, chat it up, as well as meet these great Flyers legends we'll talk about as well. So, and I know they'll have Chet talking about it a little bit more tomorrow when Phil returns. That's right, Phil returns. He will be back, guys. Don't worry. Let's see. TMZ saying, shoot, Steve's got a good point. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ice cream, it invokes the shore to people who grew up, especially in this area. I'm sure outside this area, wherever your vacation spot is, you can't think of vacation without having ice cream. Brian got outclassed by the Red Sox and the Orioles. Outclassed. I don't know about outclassed. To me, when I hear the term outclassed, Brian, that means that they're a better team than us, and we're maybe close, but they just played better than us, and we played down to them. Is that what you mean by outclassed? Because I don't know if I can agree with outclassed. Give me a little bit more of a breakdown of what you mean by outclassed. I love Hershey's ice cream. We have it at our job. Cookies and cream flavor is for me. Yeah, Adam, a great one. Our boy Mike Laro here at PM and the AM, and also in the Fightins Final. He used to deliver for Bassett's ice cream, which was another very good ice cream. Almond milk and breast milk. So what was that? The Cambodian breast milk with oh my god, what was that? That was I can't remember his name, the comedian. I just completely blanked out his name. Used to have the great show on Chappelle Show. Yeah, the Chappelle Show on Comedy Central. That was one of my favorite shows. Mint ice cream need to nail that ice cream. Mint ice cream is a really good one. Like again, TMZ, that is it's a fan favorite, but it's also, if you don't like it, you hate it. Like I know too many people who just won't touch it. There's not people go, I'm gonna have some mint ice cream today. I prefer not. Maybe it's like either that's what your go-to is, or you don't go to it at all. Yes. Good morning, Dave. How are we doing? Gave up 9+ a game. I call that outclassed. Okay. When I say outclassed, I can say outplayed, played down, struggled. When I hear the word outclassed, I don't know. I just feel like it's like, oh, they proved that they're a better team than us, and we were too busy, whatever. We were hacks. We weren't, what we did leading up to this was all a smokescreen. And I don't know if you're saying that in those moments and times, like against Boston and Baltimore, we didn't play very well at all. I don't know, again, I don't know if I use the term outclassed, but we played terribly. This team looked exhausted. This team looked frustrated, is a good way with it. You saw guys, not like Nick Castellanos, we kind of been on him about just swinging at anything, but we saw a lot of guys doing that. You brought Brandon Marsh back in the lineup on, I think it was Saturday. He struggled since then, and we saw him even struggle yesterday with that defensive play that got past him. He should let the ball jump in front of him, especially when a game's that tight. But, again, I couldn't live without my Bowflex. Roseman Island, that is the greatest. Thank you so much for the Golden Girls. That is amazing. There is a cool. I don't think I could not live without, but I still love watching Golden. I will, if it's on TV and it pops on, I will watch Golden Girls and find it hilarious. Who would have thought? When I think of being outclassed, I think about the Sixers woes versus the Celtics. Okay. All right. So Quinton saying outclassed means, when they play against them, they just always make them look silly. That's what, they always just continue to struggle against them. I don't think that, they don't play Baltimore and Boston enough for me to say they've been outclassed. Like I said, I've gotten in this argument. I really don't want to get into it too much, but I've got me and Matty B have been known to go back and forth about this. He expects that guys get paid this much money. Like robots should always be good. I know there's going to be bad times and bad moments in baseball. And he does too. And we go back and forth and kind of take jabs at each other. But, in the scheme of things, since that Colorado trip, 18 time zones, 12,000 miles, on a plane, off a plane, on a plane, off a plane. Not much time, to kind of really settle into any place. Going from London, time change. Going to Boston's really tough. The whole layout of that field, it's a really hard to get used to, and when you're already kind of out of sorts in my eyes, that's a tough one. Yeah. You say a lot of guys swinging at everything, so it's time to look at Kevin Long. He's known as an aggressive hitting coach. So here's my thing with the hitting coach. I think Kevin Long's done a great job. And you can't blame Kevin Long with guys who have bad habits. I'm sure, like with Nick Castellanos, is he relaying the message right? That would be what I would worry about with Kevin Long. And listen, when guys in baseball are struggling, that's just kind of what happens. It's not like one player, one team. Like when guys are up there, they're trying to force, get a home run or force, just trying to crush the ball without trying to play the field, without trying to hit into a gap or, I think a lot of guys when they struggle, they think they need a home run or a game-winning run to get out of it. But sometimes a bloop single, just getting battle on ball and getting getting on the base and moving around the base path is what a person needs to get out of it. And look at the winning hit the other night for Nick Castellanos. It was just a bloop out in the right field. The right fielder wasn't able to corral it, and it was enough for them to win the game. And if you kind of break that game down, the first 8 innings were not pretty for the Phillies. It's just because the way it ended, you got so excited, you completely forgot about it. You didn't worry about what was going on because the moment was where you were at that point. That fun moment against, might I add, Roger Suarez is a really good closer in the Major League Baseball. He only let up 2 runs all year long prior to that, and he had 0 blown saves on the year. So, he is a good, again, there's a guy, if anybody remembers Bedlam at the Bank, who was pitching to Harper at the time, Roger Suarez. So, some guys just struggle at certain positions and things are in their head. So, no, I'm not going to blame Kevin Long because then you should be giving him more money when these guys are hitting well. So, if you want to, Kyle Schwarber has been a more consistent hitter all year long, but Nick Castellanos is down. So, you're going to give him credit for Schwarber and knock him down for Castellanos. It's kind of hard to blame Kevin Long. I think Kevin Long has done a terrific job working with guys. Brandon Marsh, who wasn't much of a hitter when he got here. I'm sure he was part of helping Trey Turner get out of his funk. It wasn't just a standing ovation. Brian saying Joe Embiid versus Boston outclassed. All right, that's what I'm saying. That's fair enough. I think you were saying like Quinyon was kind of alluding to in that situation. So yeah, I can. That's why I'm saying I just don't feel like I don't know if the Phillies were outclassed, but they were outplayed, and they panicked. Kevin Long telling Cassie one thing about how to approach the plate, but then Cassie then goes on his own sometimes. Yeah, that's the other thing. Is like he can only control them so much. Like, let's talk about it for a moment. Cassie had that moment in Baltimore where he kind of turned and chirped at the ump a little bit about not speaking up. And I've been in this league for 10 years and show me some effing respect. I'm really surprised he didn't get thrown out. And I think that would me and Matty B went back and forth about the Harper thing. I would have not been surprised if he was thrown out, and probably well deserved. Like, I think here's a guy who's been struggling at the plate. Now you're kind of taking it out on the ump for not speaking up. Whatever. I think that was a little ridiculous, but whatever. I'm a little surprised he didn't get tossed for the way he was kind of being aggressive with his conversation with him. But that's it. Well, Cassie has a bad habit at swing at everything, or is it OCD? Haha. That is just what he is. Like, he is that's what he thinks he came in here. I think Adam said it last night on my show. I didn't go to college. I came here to hit baseballs. Well, when you're not hitting baseballs, we might want to send you back to college. Like, so that's like a tough thing. Like, yeah, these bad habits are sometimes hard to break because that's what they are. They're bad habits. And you got to find a way of breaking them of it. Phillies just seemed drained during that trip To be honest, I was drained as a fan. Yeah, and again, I was kind of roasted about using that as an excuse, as Matty B called it, the Big Al excuses emporium. Um, I call it a variable. I work in the medical field. I'm a man of science. The term variable in science is what I use. Um, Variables will play a factor in why somebody's not feeling well or something like that. Tell me about your diet. Tell me about your stress in your life. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. Like I got to look at a lot of extenuating circumstances, and they went a little above 500 in that time frame. Um, and they were like, I think one game above 500 in that time frame. And in my eyes, it's not ideal, but it's a lot. That would have been the bare minimum what I wanted is at 500 at that moment. Um, True story, absolutely. Why is Whit Merrifield on this team? I get it, Joe. I get it. And nobody was more excited when we signed Whit Merrifield. I've been wanting Whit Merrifield on this team since 2021. I still think there's a spot for Whit Merrifield on here. I think he will. I think you'll see him come through when we need him the most. To be honest with you, Joe, I really do. I think, especially in the postseason, I think you will see him play a lot better at that. When we need him the most. He's a very much a glue guy. I think he's just not having the greatest year. Maybe it's not. Maybe because he's not playing consistently. That plays a factor into it. I'm sure we're gonna be talking a little bit at one point about the trade deadline, and I know we're still about a month out from that, if not further. And it might be a little early to talk about it, but I would like, and I know Phil brought this up yesterday, and I chimed in. I wouldn't mind if they could make the trade happen sooner than later. But will a team, if they're willing to trade today, meaning you're pretty much saying at June 20th, or at the end of June, you're out of it. Part of you might go, "Oh, we'll just sit and wait on it until close to the deadline and see if we can squeeze as much juice out of the situation." So you have to find somebody who's willing to give you the deal that you want to accept. That's not going to be an overkill. I know we brought this up on my show last night, but in my eyes, all prospects are on the table for the right price. The price has got to match it. All prospects are on the table in my eyes. Al, but also being in the healthcare, admittedly, IT, it's a range anything around 500 is baseline. True. So when you play above baseline, that's a good thing. When you're below baseline, that's a problem. And they've been above baseline the whole time, even when they're playing baseline teams. So I do the IT part too as well, man. I mean, I do a lot of more patient care as well. So I get it. So there is a lot of you know, things that go along with both sides of it. It was a long time coming for Rojas to be sent down. Only had one hit in his minor league debut, 1-for-5 PU. Mike, I was a big I still am a big Johan Rojas fan. I think he could be a center fielder of the future, maybe with the Phillies, maybe not, depending on how trades go. If you get a young guy who's going to be on the team for 4 or 5 years, maybe he gets lumped in a trade. There's a lot of different conversations about outfielders there. So if you're a team who wants somebody young who has potential, and part of your trade package could include Johan Rojas. And if you're going to find a guy who's young that you're planning on signing on for years to come, and he's under contract for 4 or 5 years, then Johan Rojas will become a tradable asset. Maybe Pache is a tradable asset in that situation. I'm not saying one and done, like 1 for 1. That's not going to happen. But that's how I look at it. And I still think he could be a good hitter. He showed he could be a good hitter. I think a little bit of the pressure got to him, especially in the postseason last year, and then the pressure of playing every day in the big league, for the bigs when starting off in the season and not having, the greatest spring. None of them did it, and I know the sickness kind of ran through the locker room at that time. So, that all plays a factor into it as well. I'm a firm believer in some of these bench guys are better off on the bench, and you can be exposed when starting too much. But Sosa has proved that wrong this year. But man, Witt is a tough watch. No, Joe, I get it. I'm not sitting here and tell you that I'm guaranteeing you that if you find somebody to replace Witt who's a better option than Witt, then oh well, it's business now. I'm all business. I'm cold-hearted. I'm cold-blooded right now. As long as it's whatever move you make to get rid of one, it better be an improvement in that position. and get us somewhere that's going to make us an inch closer to that. I'm telling you, I'm settling for nothing less than walking down Broad Street in a sea of red this year, like in November. Like that's what I want. So whoever goes has to go. That's why I'm saying pretty much everybody's on the table for conversation for me in the minors. Everybody, as long as it matches. Like I'm not saying give away somebody in a complete overpayment, but if you're going to get what you need and it helps, sorry, buy Mick Abel. And if somebody wants Andrew Painter, who's looking for a long-term possibility and is willing to wait for him to come back and all that, you're in a rebuild now. Kyle Tucker, he's a guy I've kind of been clamoring for. I would love to see Kyle Tucker. He's got the experience, he's got the ability. And then, if Johan Rojas has to go because they're going to start kind of a mini rebuild, then he's the guy. If Andrew Painter is going to go and they're worried about replacing kind of like Verlander in the next year, he's going to go. I mean, that's how I look at it. Like, I'm okay if the price is right. It's all about the price. Everybody hits woohoo. Brian, what's going on, my friend? Nice to see you. Real quick before we get to some of these comments, I remind you guys that this is brought to you by PhilliesSportsTrips.com. And, of course, everybody's Brazil. I'll try my best Phil impression. Yes, Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo. It's going to be amazing. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And what package that Vince, I know the owner Vince very well. We talk about these things a lot. And, what this package he put together, it's nothing shy of amazing. It's a whole vacation. This is the 30th to the 8th. So it's not just a game. It's a whole Brazilian vacation on top of watching the Eagles make some history, taking on the Green Bay Packers on a Friday night, first game of the season in Brazil. Plus all the other great Eagles away games. They're going to Tampa Bay. They're going to Baltimore. They're going to Dallas. You name it, they got it. They're going there. All the away trips they have hit up. And these baseball trips, they're going fast, man. They sell out real fast. I know the Pittsburgh trip is still open, so check it out. They're also taking deposits for spring training. That spring training sells out fast. So I'm not kidding. Get your deposit now. And plus, it makes it easier to pay over time versus having to put a chunk of payment out at one time. So check it out. And even have great ones. The Italian Heritage Celebration at the bank. I'm going to probably be at this one as an Italian. I want to go to this. I always go every year. It's a great time, great atmosphere. So check it out. Go to PhillySportsTrips.com. Tell them EOP sent you. And yes, guys, I know the one that you want. I was actually trying to get a certain person on the show today. It just didn't work out. He was in court. But I will be bringing him on to EOP and hopefully trending in the AM in the not too distant future. And y'all know who I'm talking about, but we'll do his ad very shortly. But I want to touch on a couple more of these comments, but I want to change gears a little bit. Let's see who's in the comments here that I missed. Yeah, but a move on the new team minors or majors will take a little getting used to. If Rojas still having hitting issues over the next few games, then we know there is a major issue. I don't know about that. I don't know if the next few games is going to really tell me there's a major issue. Listen, baseball's a mental game. Sometimes you just got to calm them down, slow them down, and see what they have. I'm not saying he's the next greatest thing. And listen, we've seen it all the time. Like Don Brown. Don Brown's a perfect scenario. He was untouchable, unmovable. And I was sitting there when he came up and I watched him play. I just saw something about him I didn't trust. He had about that 6 weeks, 8 weeks of success. He was just knocking the cover off the ball. And it was right leading up to the deadline. They're like, you can't touch him. I'm like, trade him while his value is high. Make somebody sorry they traded for him. They didn't do it. And what happened? So we won't know. You think Rojas would have caught that ball yesterday? Possibly. I mean, or maybe played it better on a hop and salvaged, bases clearing. Duck totally disagree. He has ample time to prove himself hitting wise. If I'm wrong, then I'll admit it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This is the beauty about sports talk, guys. We don't always have to be right. It's, you can have a feeling about somebody. You can say, listen, giving a few days in the minors doesn't prove anything. But at the same time, you don't have to be right because there's nothing about being right. If Duck's right, he was lucky to be right. If Mike's right, you're lucky to be right. Like, there is nothing that you're seeing that one person's missing than the other, and it's because it's a mental game. Those are factors and variables you cannot you cannot control all the time. You know, I think Don Brown could have very been a good player, but he let his head get in his way. He thought he was the next big thing, and he didn't have to. He earned it already when he didn't earn it. That's what makes the difference between guys like him and the Bryce Harpers of the world, the Tyrese Maxeys of the world, guys who consistently put in the work, even though they're pretty big names. Bryce could start mailing it in a long time ago, but he didn't. The man wants to win, and that's what you want. You want somebody who has that win, and that's what is the difference between this and like a Don Brown situation. Every player should have the mentality of next man up, whether it's a starter or a bench. Yeah, you got to hope that's the way it is. Again, it's the human factor is an unknown, forever changing factor, Brian, and every human is completely different from one to the other. Am I reading too much in this? But Nola seems to be the best 5-inning pitcher, but after the 5th inning, he S's the bed. That was kind of his thing last year. I mean, he's definitely better because we always worried about him with guys when guys got on base. When there was nobody on the base path, Nola was great. It was great last year. When he wasn't on the base path, he looked like a completely different pitcher. I think he's really good. I think when you get to the 5th inning, it's where it's tough. But I think Nola's been pitching very well. I think the pitching's been down a little bit, and I put a little bit into the JT Realmuto category because catcher to catcher is not exactly the same thing. So that plays a bit of a factor into the situation. But I want to change the gears a little bit, and we can still talk Phillies, guys. Remember, I also want to know what's your non-essential thing that you can't live without. And we talked about ice cream a lot. Breast milk apparently came up in the conversation as well. But I want to change gears a little bit to the Eagles. Now we've talked about different things, and I don't want to hear about Nick Sirianni versus Jalen Hurts. You can talk about Jalen Hurts, and we could talk about him in the sense. I don't want to hear about like the beef or the grief between the two of them. I think that's BS. But what do you need from Kellen Moore and or Vic Fangio? Like, I'll tell you mine in a moment, but what do you need from Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio to be successful this year? Because I remember, I think somebody said 14-3. 14-3. I think it's a bit much because you got a new offense. Things are going to be there's going to be some growing pains with this, I expect. And there's still a lot of unproven factors. So I think 14-3 is a bit much. I have them around 11-12 wins right now, depending on how some things go. But I would say, what do you need from Kellen Moore, and what do you need from Vic Fangio? What do you need to feel confident in them, and what do you think they need to do in that locker room between now and the start of the season to really shake it up and get the most out of what they have in front of them, especially being, you got a savvy older vet in Vic Fangio. And I guess I asked if he's in a vet category, Kellen Moore, who's been doing it for a few years at Dallas. And then he was over at the Chargers. So, what do you see? What do you need to see from them? And what positions do you have a ton of confidence in? Or position/player do you have a ton of confidence in? And a position/player you have zero confidence in. Okay. Like I said, confidence is kind of going to be the theme of today. And also one other confidence thing, because we'll kind of go back and forth between Eagles and Sixers a little bit. We talked about the confidence of Daryl Morey. Okay. We all talked about how good Embiid is. But what is your confidence, not just in this year, but in the next couple of years, that Joel Embiid can be a major piece on this team and help win a championship? That is the questions I want to ask you guys, plus your non-essential essentials, and then your Eagles players. And we can continue the Phillies conversation as well as we go along here. Phillies need to make a move in the outfield. You cannot go into the postseason with Witt, Marsh, Pache, Castellanos. I agree. I mean, I really think they're going to make a move, and I don't see Dombrowski not making a move. That's why I'm saying don't get upset about certain players, certain prospects not being here. If you want that to happen, it's going to cost. Price of business. And I worry about guys like Aiden Miller. I mean, I know somebody came out and said, Aiden Miller, best prospect since Mike Schmidt. All right, pump your brakes on that comment right there. That's a little bit much in my eyes. That's you when you put something up on that pedestal way too early. I think you're just setting them up for failure, and I hate when I hear things like that. But if the price is right, see Aiden Miller. I mean, Sixto Sanchez. Oh, we were ridiculous for giving him up for JT Realmuto. I think we won that one. I know Matty B. We talked about this a lot. He's a big fan of Logan O'Hoppe. I don't think Logan Hoppe's done anything to make me go, we made the bad move here. But it's not gonna always play out that way. That's not gonna always play out that way. Off topic, but any chance EOP cornhole tournament this summer? I can't live without cornhole. That would be a fun thing. We could set something up. We could try to work something out. Trying to get the crew together to all at one time is not easy. Everybody's all from different areas and stuff like that. But that would be a fun idea. Pizza. A good pizza is a non-essential. It's not an essential, but the wife and I order pizza at least once a week, from a whole pie or a few slices. Doc, absolutely, that's a great one. And I know if I'm filling in for Phil, and Fox's Pizza is the only pizza you'll ever need. But no, pizza is one of those things that if you can't make a decision, you can go pizza. Nobody says no to it. Kids, no kids, adults, teenagers, everybody's happy with pizza. Grandparents, doesn't matter. Pizza's a great one. What's the go-to topping though? If you're not plain, unless you want to say I'm just a plain Jane guy, that's fine, or extra cheese. But what's your go-to topping? And I know Phil says pepperoni is an overrated pizza topping. That's blasphemy in my eyes. I love pepperoni, and a good pepperoni. I mean, just throwing that thin slice and stuff that just like kind of crunches up and all that stuff, that's garbage. Yeah, I get that, but like a good cupped pepperoni or something to me goes a long way. Birds need Barkley to stay healthy for the season. If not, they are in trouble. It's always hard to take Eagles comments from the guy with the cowboy on his little logo there, Dave. But I mean, listen, it's a good point though. I wouldn't say they're in trouble. I mean, they've been successful without having, like, they had DeAndre Swift last year, which is not a bad running back, but he's not Saquon Barkley. And they've done it with other guys that aren't the top-notch running backs like Saquon Barkley is. So I don't think they're in trouble, but I think Saquon Barkley helps them out to be more elite, especially maybe with the changes in the offense. I didn't say it here, but I have to say it, that I did say it in late April, that we needed a right-handed hitting center fielder. Let's see if I'm right. That could be very poignant. Good point there. NFC Conference Championship appearance is the minimal. Super Bowl appearance is better. Super Bowl win is what I really want. Well, of course, yeah, I think that's all we really want. So you're saying anything less than an NFC Championship appearance is considered a failure? I would normally agree with you on this, but I don't know. That's a tough one. That is a very tough one in my eyes. Because there is a lot of change on this team. There's a lot of stability. Jalen Hurts has a lot to learn still, especially with the new coordinator. Vic Fangio, we don't know what we have with him just yet. I'm a big Vic Fangio fan. I've been pounding my chest to have him here. But I mean, they have a lot of young players in one area. They still have some deficits in depth in other areas. So, I know the old saying is defense is a luxury, not an essential. I disagree with that a little bit. I'm saying you can get away with not having the top defense, but top 10 defense I think is a need. Anything less than that, it will make it tough. I mean, you go back to the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era when they're putting up 35, 40 points every game, but they're still struggling to win games because their defense at the time was lacking. So you have to have something there. You got to be able to shut people down now and then. So that, I don't know if I can say NFC conference is the only option I would take out of this. I have to let that play out. I need Kellen Moore to run the most curl routes I've ever seen in NFL games. Yeah, Joe. So I think somebody just started twitching when you said that. Yes, just Just I want to see. I want to see like what was it, S8 or S7 or something like that. That on the back of Chip Kelly's. I just want to see a big cheese curl on the back of Kellen Moore's paperwork to give our certain Dallas fans who chime in here some fits. I have no confidence in James Trashberry. Okay. All right. That's fair. I mean, I don't think many people have the confidence in him that much. And I don't know why we would have confidence when he showed us last year. Where I do have confidence in him is I have confidence in the fact that I really, if there's, I wouldn't say confidence, where there could be a shining light in the situation of James Bradbury. Is could last year between the deficits and the problems they had with the coordinators, I mean, Brandon Graham said it himself, pretty much let the cat out of the bag on that one. Um, just to have a guy who was here dropped all the way to the bottom, is there somewhere in the middle? Can he be somewhere in the middle? And maybe enough to, when a team is in need of his position because maybe they have injuries during the preseason or really early into the season, he becomes a trade piece. You get a little something for him and you get his contract off your books. So, you know, I get the no confidence factor, though. I 100% get the no confidence factor. I need Kelmore to show growth from past two jobs. It's a very good one, Eric. What I really want to see in growth from Kelmore, and I said this the other day, is I want to see him go into a room, and I want to see him bring Jalen and AJ and Devontae and Lane, so the key players in offense, especially the vets. I want him to lock the door, turn up the music, and be like, "What in the hell happened last year? We don't. It's not for the media. This isn't going to leak out. We need to make sure that doesn't happen again. What happened? And we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. This is my plan. I'm going to make sure I find an offense that fits this crew of guys that you guys, because you heard the cliche saying, well, the coaches call the plays, but the players run the plays, and it wasn't ran right. Well, if you run plays that don't fit the offense, then it doesn't matter. That was a cop out. I think they're trying to say Brian Johnson's save a little face for Brian Johnson, and which is admirable, but that doesn't help. What we really need to see is Kellen Moore say what happened, and let's make sure this doesn't happen again, and that's it. Smash that like button. Yeah, guys, please hit that like button if you haven't. Subscribe, like, follow, quote, retweet, whatever it is. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us today, Mike. Not abandon the run. Yeah, absolutely. That would be interesting to see if he's just another, pass happy offensive coordinator, or can he, be judicious with it. I mean, that's what made them that's what kind of got Jalen Hurts out of his funk too. And in 2021, Shane Steichen kind of said, let's slow it down. Let's run the ball, build some confidence up for Jalen, give him some easy passes, and then work him up. I'm not saying you have to go that exact route, but you have to think about it. You kind of have to use some of that mentality. I have more faith in Embiid's health than Morey's thought process. Ooh, that's a bold statement there, Eric. It's a bold statement. I want Super Bowl or bust from the Eagles and have dominate offense and defense. Super Bowl or bust for the Eagles. You coming off the kind of year that they had. That's a bold statement. I don't know if I could do that one. I don't know if I could say Super Bowl or bust in this team. I mean, does everybody agree with that? Super Bowl or bust for this team? I like the mentality. Everybody should have that mentality coming into the season. But I don't know if that's a lofty goal, knowing how many changes. Fox Pizza, Kennett Square, PA's best. Kennett Square, PA, best pizza around the area. I'm gonna try it out and find out. I love Fox's taco. Good taco pizza goes a long way. I have places that make it around here who either make it really bad or decently. I haven't had a great one yet. I'm in the Delco area, so I can drive up there and figure it out and see if he makes a good one. Please tell me they don't put lettuce on it. I hate when you put hot lettuce on hot items. That's my one thing I can totally live without. Pepperoni with a nice cup and crisp, absolutely, Duck. Love green peppers and onions on my pie. Yes, Mike. That's a good one too, as well. Who do you think needs to step up more with this? Nolan Smith or Jalen Carter? It's a good question. I would lean towards Jalen Clark, but I'm actually going to say Nolan Smith in this case because, his position we need to know. In his position, we need to see what we can get out of him. EOP Cornhole Tourney at Dolan's, have a nice ring to it. That would be fun. You have AJ, Smitty, Barkley, Hurts. That should put up the points. The O-line is solid, but needs to be sure up the bench. The defense starters are looking solid, at least on paper. Yeah, I mean, the O-line's still a question mark. I mean, we have the right guard position. We don't know what we have as Cam Jurgens if he's the center. Those are still question marks we have. That's why I'm not sitting here saying Super Bowl or bust. There is still plenty of question marks for this Eagles, and we were trying to replace Jason Kelsey. I don't care how good somebody is, it's not going to happen overnight. And if it does, we're just damn lucky. EOP golf outing. You don't want to see me. I'll drive the golf cart. I'm not much of a golfer. I'll drink the beer and drive the cart. I'm down with that. This team has a development a whole personality. An a-hole personality? Is that an a-hole personality? And teams out of the building when they are down. Are we talking about the Eagles? I'm happy as long as the Eagles make the playoffs and the new offense starts clicking. That's the other thing is the offense in my eyes is the most important one because they still have all the major pieces. And if it can click, you can make up for some of the deficits if the defense is still struggling a little bit, in my eyes. I believe Phil has scramble he has done in October for a good cause. He's trying to get together for EOP. That could be pretty cool. I want Kellen Moore to fix our red zone offense. We were good between the 20s, just couldn't score. Yeah, that's an important factor. And I think Saquon Barkley kind of falls into that category of why he's here, Mister. Nolan Smith, because we haven't seen much due to his injury, and we need to know if we can take that option or not. Yeah, I mean, and also, he's going to get a lot more playing time. He hasn't had a lot. We haven't had a great sample of Nolan Smith, so it'll be interesting to see when he plays a lot more snaps. For fantasy purposes, I want to see a lot of catches out of the backfield from Barkley and Kellen's offense. This is why I really stopped playing fantasy football. I'll be honest with you, because first part, that is time consuming beyond all belief, nauseatingly time consuming. So, and I kept, and this is the other reason people were worried about their fantasy than the team winning and bettering the team. Now, I know, Steve, you're not saying that, but my point is I've gotten out of the fantasy world for that. I don't care. I want to see them just use Barkley appropriately because that's what he hasn't been used when he was with the Giants. You got Giants fans up there quoting stats and stuff like that and being just, little pissy pants about not having Barkley thank God they overpaid for him and he's out of here. We don't have to deal with him anymore. No, he was your whole offense. Any good offense you got out of his tenure in the Giants was him. Was him making things happen. You didn't have great play calling. You have a terrible O-line, and he was still able to produce at times. You're gonna watch Giants fans just start vomiting. Okay, vomiting. I think once you see him, once the O-line and him are clicking, you're gonna see Giants fans just quitting football. Like that's how bad it's gonna be. They're gonna have to go through their fourth string quarterback with some other gimmick, just to get through next season. That's what it's gonna be like. Trending in the AM at Dolan's in the future. Maybe, Adam. Maybe I was talking to PJ the other day. Maybe I have a meeting with PJ on Tuesday evening. Maybe. Just maybe. Real quick, guys, let's thank our great sponsor, the one that you guys have been waiting for. But after I do my Dolan's ad, because speaking of Dolan's, we got to transition right into PJ. 24 East Sellers Avenue, right in Ridley Park. For anybody coming off of 95, south or north, right the Ridley Park exits, right off the exit, just a couple blocks. Great place, great atmosphere, Quizzo music, great time, memorabilia, you name it, they got it. You never know who's going to walk in the door. PJ is one of the greatest human beings you'll ever meet. He's a good friend of mine as well. You got to check him out. He does great social media. We just saw the Philly sports guy on his social media talking with Jason Kelsey, who's the new owner of Garage Beer, talking about possibly coming by Dolan's Bar. So there's another reason you want to get over to Dolan's Bar, because you never know who's going to come through the door. PJ is the man. I will tell you that. I've known him for years. Like I said, he's a good friend, and he knows how to make the bar scene awesome. It's just true. You got to go down to Dolan's, 24 East Sellers Avenue, Ridley Park in Delaware County. But right, if you're coming from Delaware, right north of Wilmington, right south of the airport, right off 95 exit 8. I think it's the Ridley Park exit 8. So check it out. Go to Dolan's Bar. And of course, I know they're going to be coming soon. So here it is, cherryinjurylaw.com. David R. Cherry, another guy I was just talking to. Workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, criminal law. David R. Cherry is the man with the plan at 610-565-0300. Cherryinjurylaw.com. David Cherry, he is the all-star. He is the guy. He is the go-to guy. He is the guy you will have high levels of confidence in for all your workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, and criminal law needs. These are all life-altering moments, and you need the man who's going to fight for your rights. Go to cherryinjurylaw.com or call Dave directly at 610-565-0300. Tell Dave that EOP sent you. And like I said, another great human being too. He'll be a great guest. Really great personalities. I should just have like the owners of some of our sponsors on, because like between Vince, him, and PJ, that could be a fun show just to be a fly on the wall for. But let's hit some of these comments, because I'm sure I know. I'm sure I know what's coming. Wouldn't that be trending in the AM in the PM? Well, I have a meeting with him on Tuesday evening, but we would try to do trending in the AM in the morning, depending on how we would have to work that out. Showing a little his Irish love here. Is PJ better than Phil? Yeah, probably. I mean, it's not hard to beat Phil. No, I'm just kidding. Phil's a great guy. Quinton, yes. Cherry bomb. So you got the clovers and the cherries now. It's looking like a bowl of Lucky Charms in my eyes. So yeah, guys, you can't live. There's a non-essential essential. David R. Cherry, your cherry bombs. We can't live without them. That is a non-essential. So for those who are just joining us, it's going to be a little shorter than a normal episode tonight. So I have another like 10 to 12 minutes left here. So we can talk a little Sixers. What is your Joel Embiid confidence level of bringing this team a championship? You know, I heard you guys talked yesterday about, him recruiting, and that would be part of the reason that he brings a championship. Daryl Morey not getting it right, is part of it. But let's say he brings in either a lot of complementary pieces or young pieces, or he brings in a couple of age superstars. That, either way, Joel Embiid's still a big piece. It'd be nice if he's not the centerpiece. He's one of the big pieces. But the thing is, what is your confidence level that he can help bring this team a championship, especially after watching the finals, watching the Celtics play, seeing how good they're playing, and seeing how some of the teams that made it further, how they're built? What is your confidence level in Joel Embiid? And I'm not on this trade Joel kick. I'm actually kind of with the Phil's thinking. I'm kind of riding and dying with it. But I think a culture change needs to be had, or a thought process change needs to be had with Joel Embiid. All right, man, if he's going to play like that, you need a big man under there. You need another facilitator. Because like I said before this, when he came back and I felt they were rushing him back, like I said, if I'm gonna beat the Sixers in the postseason, I'm going to overwhelm Joel Embiid and force the other guys to play better. Maxey stepped up and did well. When Maxey stepped up and did well, they won that game. They weren't relying on Joel Embiid. You need a player or players who, if you take Joel Embiid out of the game and lessen his role, that they can step up. So that's a big question mark there, and that's more of a Daryl Morey situation. But what is your confidence in Joel Embiid of making the right changes, making the right important changes, and the has the right mental acuity to do so? That lies a really good point to have, and where and what do you think Joel Embiid can do? And of course, your Kellen Moore and your Vic Fangio takes, your takes on what positions and all that you have and players you have confidence or lack of confidence in. And if you want to talk Phillies, and don't forget your non-essential essential thing. What can you live without? What couldn't you live without? That's a non-essential. What is that thing in your life that you go to that makes you feel better when you're having a bad day? And I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that some other things did not come up because those are non-essential essentials. Okay, so I'm really surprised. And BL, what is going on, my friend? Thank you for joining us. Um, I'm starting to think that Embiid stays with the Sixers. He may not ever win a title. He might have to move on just to win a championship before he retires. Adam, it's a fair statement. Earl, great background. Thank you, my friend. How you going? How you doing, Earl? Um, but you know, I'm surprised with the non-essential conversation that some of the really low-lying fruit has not been snagged up. But I'll give you some. So I was on Football Stories yesterday with Al Thompson, and we were recording Football Stories with him and Matt Santalari. And I asked them their non-essentials, and I asked Joey Sheeran on at 8:30 last night his essentials. And so Matt Santalari said his cell phone or his smartphone, and that's a big one. That's a non-essential, but we all really can't live without it. I mean, the fact that people tell me they're bored anymore is beyond me. Like if you're sitting in a doctor's office, if you have the headphones on, you can catch up on shows, you can watch videos. I use a lot of that time to do stuff for EOP. Like I want to learn how to do. Where there's going to be some new graphical things coming along for the shows and layouts and stuff like that for over the summer. I'm building, and I'm learning about that. I go on YouTube and watch a lot of videos and see what other people are doing and see how I can mimic and make it our own and all that kind of stuff. So like I always feel like that's a great one because there's nothing you can't do on that. And I mean nothing you can't do on that. That was a good one. Al Thompson's was a little different. Now Al's an older guy for those who haven't met him yet. He's in his I believe in his early 60s. He said SNL, Saturday Night Live. Now he says what he does is though he goes, it hasn't been great lately. So he works. He works a lot of these trade shows so he comes home later and he has to get up early. So he actually records it and just watches the opening monologues and the weekend update. That's all he watches it for anymore, which is really good. I've ever watched the weekend update with who the two guys are. They're funny because they write each other's jokes and get each other in trouble. So it is really that's funny. But all the rest of it, I can't really watch. I used to love SNL. Can't watch it anymore. It's been kind of deemed a little unwatchable. And Joey Sheeran said the letter B, because all his favorite things start with B. Beers, beach. He's a big Brigantine guy, Brigantine Beach, right outside Atlantic City. I threw boobies in there, of course. And that was like one of the low hanging fruit I thought somebody would have had in here, but of course not. So I thought that was pretty interesting take on it too. So I like the twist. I like what people think outside the box. I can't live without trending in the AM at Dolan's on a Saturday morning before EOP cornhole tourney. That would be pretty cool. That would be fun. I can't live without with my wife and kids. Now that's an adorable one. I was kind of waiting to see if somebody said that. I love that one. I think that's a great one, and it's good to see that you have a great relationship with your wife and kids, and I really hope that everybody has that. But that's a great one, and that's an absolute one. I can't live without my wife because I don't know how she puts up with me. I really don't, Eric. I'm a nut. What you see is constant, like a million miles a second, saying some outlandish things, craziness. I don't keep anything sacred, nothing like that. Things that most people maybe would have left their husbands for over time. Um, my kids, I got 4 kids, so I could probably live without a couple. No, I'm just kidding. 2 of them are older, and 2 of them are younger. So, I still have an 8-year-old, a 15-year-old. I have a 21 and a 22-year-old. I'm I'm an old 41 years old. But yeah, no, I mean it's a It's a good answer. Hit those likes, Duck. Absolutely. I personally want to have Daryl Morey go after Lauri Markkanen, uh, and get him out of Utah to play the 4. It will take a haul of draft capital, but needs to be done. It makes much more sense. That's the problem. We talk about all the space and money they have, but with the free agency pool being kind of light, like, do they have enough capital in that area, because they don't have a lot of team players for capital to bring guys like that in and make enough moves and more just Lauri Markkanen? That's the question, because you have to be a smart shopper. And that's where I worry about Daryl Morey. Is not a smart shopper. You got to find that dime in the rough. You got that Kelly Oubre type choice, like a guy that you get him at a very low cost and give him a chance to prove that he can be a key cog in the machine. Smartphones are the instrument of control by the deep state. Wake up, sheeple. As K1's on his smartphone watching Trending in the AM and posting that. That is great. Football on Thanksgiving is life essential. Yeah, that's a great one, Steve. Absolutely. Really good one. Really like that one. Al, where do we see Phillies finishing this season? The Phillies? That's with a Y. So I honestly think it's I want to it's parade or bust in my eyes, to be honest with you. SNL Weekend Update is the only SNL I watch. Yeah, I don't even watch it on the regular time. I watch the reels. They crack up to them. They're great. I can't live without loving life. I can't live. That's a good one. Earl, that's kind of a more profound one. So I really do like that one. Without enjoying life, like do you have to enjoy life to live? No, technically, but it makes a miserable life when you don't. So no, that is an absolute great one. I like that one. Also, I don't know how my wife lives with me. Dude, I get it, Duck. Dude, I don't like me. I look at myself in the mirror like, why am I dealing with this guy? Who is this guy? Like, I don't get him. Like, I deal with people, like, I don't know how they deal with me. And my wife, she's a pretty good looking woman. I mean, a very good looking woman. She's pretty hot. I don't know how I landed that, because I am not a good looking man. I'm not a rich man. I don't bring much to the table. Let's just throw it out there. So either, low standards, it has helped me out. It's funny because she went to the eye doctor the other day. She goes, my eye doctor says I'm way past a new prescription for my glasses. And I called the doctor up. I said, you do not change those glasses. I don't need her seeing this mug in its full focus. I was wondering the same, how she puts up with me when I met you at Streetlight, but you're the man. Things I can't live without: computer work wise, car, golf, and chicken. Eat too much of that. That's a great one. Can't live without my wife and my Samsung Galaxy Fold. There you go. Could not fathom life without my Let's Get Ready album from hip hop artist Mystical. Ralph Earl. This guy, I love these. Where do you guys come from? All these 80s and 70s and 80s sitcom guys are coming out of the woodwork. You sound like a Goodfellas man. Who, me? Are you saying by my accent, or are you just saying like Goodfellas versus I'm completely blanking out on the name. Oh, Godfather. Hello. Goodfellas versus Godfather. I mean, I love Goodfellas. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, Godfather's Godfather. I mean, it's hard not to say Godfather. But Goodfellas is a great show. Great movie. Absolutely one of my favorite movies. I quote that movie a lot. Al, would you rather go after marketing for a cheaper price or go all in either Paul George, LeBron, Jimmy? But marketing. I don't want the old guys. Al, you are a good-looking man. Well, thanks, Tech. Your wife tells me good things about you. Thanks, K1. Being a geek, I end up doing IT geeks, and being a Philly sports guy, I'm always watching some sports. Absolutely. Video games is one I thought I would come up with. That's one on my list. Video games is a good one. So my wife puts up with my BS. I don't get it, but she does. Absolutely. You're unique in your way. Your personality won her heart, Al. Earl, I think that's just a nice way of saying you're a weirdo and your wife settled for a weirdo. But guys, that's going to be I'm going to end it there today. I hope you're all are behaving for Big Al. Nope, I hope they weren't, and they aren't. Phil chiming in. I hope he's on making pizza number 40th pizza or whatever he said. 125 pizzas down, 40 more to go. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I'm hungry now. There's K1 with the cherries again. But guys, I got to end it there today. I got to head out to work myself. I want to thank everybody for joining me. I want to thank Phil for giving me the opportunity for filling in for him. Go Birds, ring that bell, Duck. Absolutely. Guys, thank you for being awesome. Thank you for, being part of EOP. You guys are going to make getting up early in the morning to do things like this before work. Awesome. All that kind of stuff. So thank you guys. You're awesome. Keep up the great work. Keep up hitting that subscribe, likes, and all that stuff. Go check out EOPsports.com. Sign up for the newsletter. We're doing some new changes for the newsletter. We got a lot of NBA draft coming out from Dives, NHL draft stuff coming out. Me and Matty B are working on some of that stuff, mainly Matty B. I'm just kind of taking credit for it. But other than that, guys, I want to thank you for joining me. I will see you guys next time. Phil will be back tomorrow, and I believe his guest is Chet from Philly Press Box Radio. So check them out. It's can't miss. See you guys next time.